Okay, I hope everybody have a good break. Yeah, it's time to come back in, and you know that this starting week we have something serious going on. What's that? Midterm, okay? Midterm is coming up on when? Saturday, okay? Please go to Cosmology to have a detailed read of the instruction. I think one of the usual thing we had is some student out of our 800 students will be not reading that and come to the venue without any notice or whatever, okay? So they may have a lot of things they don't know. We even will have once there was a student coming to the venue, didn't have Exemplify installed already, okay? Don't do such things. Please get well prepared because you are supposed you did the mock already. You have everything ready. A few things. First, please go to read the SOP. And there are 3 venues, okay? And one more thing is the midterm is duration 1.5 hours, okay? That's better for you because we have more time for that. And it's a bit confusing. Before that, we actually have 2 PEs. But this semester, we try to only have 1 PE at the end of the semester. But that may not do you good because you may think, oh, I'm okay with my CS10 and E, okay? So the midterm is also, we call it a wake-up call. In midterm, there are 2 sets of questions. I'm not competing with your voice because my cough is not standing, okay? So let you guys quiet down first. Yeah, I guess just like yesterday, you guys are very excited when you come back, okay? Because you see your friends. It's okay, understandable. But sorry, because I got distracted and also my voice is still in the coughing mode. Midterm question, we have about 20 or 25, I think 25 MCQs. And then we have 8 or 9 of, we call it fill in the blanks question. The important thing about the fill in the blanks is the important thing about the fill in the blank is you need to fill in. Usually we give you a skeleton code and then we have a problem. The problem will not be very complicated, but the test is on. You have to fill in and syntactically correct code. We are going to run your code. Okay, that's the first thing. We are going to run your fill in the blanks in our code to give you grades. So if you fill in something syntactically not correct, let's say you add 1 more commas, whatever, I'm sorry, it'll be 0, okay? The second thing about the fill in the blanks is for the code, there will be a few fill in the blanks. We are grading on an overall scale, the whole code. That means we will not give you marks if you get 1 blank correct. Does it make sense? For example, if I have a code asking you a blank is for I in range, 1 blank is what, comma what, you fill in 0 correct and n-1 wrongly, we will not give you the 0 is correct one because we will give you at the whole what is the correct one, okay? So we will not give partial marks if you have some blanks correct. Otherwise, if you fill all 0, there will be some marks correct, okay? So we don't have that. So be careful about filling the blanks. This is actually medial measures for having a PE because you will know that at the end of the semester, the PE is very hard to organize. And you guys have a lot of technical problem. It's not your problem, okay? The computer machines always have problem. So we'll try to reduce the risks that your grade or score are actually affected by technical issues. So that's why we'll have 1 bigger midterms instead of 2 PEs, okay? So this semester, we only have 1 PE and 1 midterm. The PE is coming on week 10 or 11, right? I think, yeah, it's on the course on the Canvas page. Please go and have a look. So please go to read this carefully, okay? Having said that, there will be students coming to the midterm that without preparing. For example, it's a real case. There was one student come in for the final lah. You talk about the final with more than one cheat sheet. She come with 4 cheat sheets, okay, and being discovered not by us, but the register office. You know, in our final exam, it's not only we lecturers. To be honest, if we lecturers see you that doing something wrong, at most if we zero out your marks. If you think it's not terrible, I'm sorry that that student or that on that semester got failed because she brought in more than one cheat sheet, okay? And also she have a grade on her transcript is suspected cheating, which means I think it's too much for me. But there's no control by me because the RO, the register office of NUS are there for final, okay? So please try to read the instruction carefully and obey the instruction. And one more small technical thing is about your laptop battery. I know most of your laptops are okay, but if your laptops cannot tahan, it means cannot last for more than half an hour, you may seriously think of asking your friend to loan your laptop, because for the first 20 minutes, we do not allow any changing of seat. What is the changing of seat? If your laptop battery fail, the battery level fell under 30%, we will allow you to get your laptop to a PowerPoint, plug in the PowerPoint and work continuously. But just that you know that the number of PowerPoint is not sufficient for all of them, okay? So please charge up your laptop before the exam, and also there are small things you need to go back to the examiner file briefing. For example, do not upgrade your OS. Okay, now don't itchy hand go and upgrade your OS now. Okay, and so on. So please take care of all the instruction. I know that it's not easy, and I do understand sometimes it's not your fault. You have so many exams, right? You have so many midterms, and every midterm have a different rules and whatever. I do understand that, but try to cooperate with us and observe our rules, okay? So please go and read the instruction carefully, and please remind that there are 3 venues. Don't go to the wrong venue, because we do have assigned seating. So the assigned seating will be knowing which of you are in which position and invigilation and so that. So please go, and otherwise, if you go to the wrong venue, you need to go to the right venue, then too bad. Okay, you waste your time. And lastly, no matter when you start exemplify on that day, maybe you purposely delay it, maybe your bus got problem, maybe let's touch wood, let's say the MRT, let's hope that there's no problem again. If you went there late, we will not give you extra time, okay? We'll end at, what is the time? Ends at 4:30, okay? So that means we will, although your exemplify say, oh, I have more time in my exemplify because I start at 3:30, I should end at 5. No, we will end at 4:30 altogether, okay? Unless everybody start late. So that is like a normal exam. Normal written exam is like that, right? You went there late, you have to be ends together with each other, okay? So if you have more questions or whatsoever, please ask in the poll everywhere. And also things like the scope is everything before the recess week, and you can have one sheet of cheat sheet, okay? And the cheat sheet can be printed, double-sided, written. And also you don't have to bring any scratch paper, draft paper. We will have some to distribute to you that day, okay? And actually the more convenient thing is on your exemplify, there's some notepad and empty portion for you to do your draft work. You can actually do it there, okay? So yeah, that is for the midterm. Okay, so the midterm is how much percent? I forgot actually. 20, is it? Yeah. 20 or 20 something. What is the midterm? Let's go to Canvas. That was the best. Canvas. Yeah, let's go to the Canvas and remember what is the percentage of midterm, okay? Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, anyway, so let's start our lesson. Today we'll talk about two topics. We'll start with the easier first, file I/O, which is super simple. And we'll introduce a lot of function. You can do a lot more things. But the second one is going to blow your mind. Not like very innovative blow your mind. It's like going to kill your brain cells, okay? So get prepared. First, we talk about text file I/O. What is file I/O? I/O is actually a technical term in computer science. It's called input-output. In the beginning, the computer is computer. Anything you need to communicate with the computer, you need to call it I/O. Even your keyboard, now you all have a laptop, but in the past, you all have to plug in the keyboard, plug in a mouse, and I know that nowadays seems like it's an alien to you. You don't have disk drive. All the disk drive is either inside your laptop, inside your computer, or some cloud drive. In the beginning, we have disk drive. That means we are plugging in a disk drive. We have to do floppy disk and all this, or hard disk, okay? So all this input, output are called I/O, or your monitor. The other thing is your printer. So these are things that you actually input to the computer and output to others to use. But today we'll talk about how to manipulate files. But more specifically, we only talk about text file. What does that mean? That means either you can actually do a text file, that means your file is full of text, or you can store binary numbers directly, okay? But today we just talk about text. Anyone knows this website? This is a website from our Singapore government, okay? In there, you can find a lot of information that is public. Of course, it won't be able to search your parents' salary, but it will have some public data. For example, what is the average salary for Singapore? What is the mobile usage in Singapore? What is the traffic? What is the household income? What is each area in Singapore, the population? What is the electricity? You have a lot of data there, okay? And usually you can even download them. Yeah, and even see that, for example, this is the birth rate for Singapore. And you can download the file. Usually when you download the file, you will have like this, okay? I hope you guys use CSV before. You know what CSV, right? CSV is a form of like Excel file. But if you open the CSV with a Word document, a Microsoft Word or a text, actually CS file is purely a text file. Okay, so today we try to learn how to read this, but there are two notes. One is today we are actually learning how do you manipulate text file. Which the second point is actually there is a Python package called CSV package. You can one line of code read in the whole CSV file, but not every file is CSV. Like your assignment 4 or 5, you need to read in a text file, which is a map, a treasure map. So you need to read in a file that is not a CSV, and you need to learn in general, how do I read in a file or write a file that is CSV or not CSV. That's what we talk about today. But CSV is a good starting point. Yeah. And usually, how do we process data? You are not going to put the data into your code. For example, like the Singapore data, or let's say your country, maybe your country is from China or India or America or Europe. You are not going to copy the whole bunch of data. China has 1.4 billion, right? You're not going to copy 1.4 billion of line into your code. Usually, because it's called hard coding, you're not going to put all of them inside your file because it's too large. And also that means if your data got changed, your code have to change, which doesn't make sense. So hard coding means all your data, whatever is the code, that is not suitable and not flexible for other data. The more correct, actually the only correct practice is you have a file, and the file is containing the data, and then you have your program file. The program file is going to read in the data and process it. So your data file can change. For example, if I'm going to calculate some data from a country, if your data file is from Singapore, you compute from Singapore. If your data file is from China, you compute China. If your data file is from India, you compute India, or other Sri Lanka, you compute Sri Lanka, okay? So you actually use a file to compute every different data file for your own use. So we are going to learn how to read, write a file, and I'm going to write the file for you first, because about reading and writing, always writing is easier. It's like human. Talking, speaking is easier than listening, okay? So we talk about how do you write a file. Very simple. You don't have to put in the code or put in a function, but you can do this. You can say with, and the file opening command is called open some files. And then after you open it, you'll be registered as a variable. And I can use any variable. Here I use F. You can use other. You can say this is my file, this is my cool data, or you can say this is my secret information. You can call any variable you want. But then after you open it, you can just do f.write. So this is the file object. You can name any variable you want, okay? You can say this is my super data or something like that. And you can just f.write to write into your files. You can write into file actually only because this is called the file mode when you open it. Later, we introduce other file mode. When you do W, this file mode is one of the many file mode. It tells you, I'm going to create this file called my text file. What will be the consequence? The consequence is, what if you already have the same name? Guess what will happen? If you already have a file that is the same name, what will happen? You will erase the file. That means W is a cruel, brutal way you erase whatever file and create a file called myfile.txt. And where will be the file be? The file will be on the same directory at your code that is running. Okay? So after I do that, I have this. Okay, let me try a real demonstration maybe. So let me write, I wrote it. I wrote it yesterday. No, I didn't wrote it. I erased it yesterday. File text. So we open, maybe my file is cs1010e text, okay, .text. W as, let's say is text file, okay? So I do f.write, hello, cs1010e, right? All the best to your midterm. Yeah. Wish you luck. Because you really need it. Okay, so let's do that. Hey, sorry. Oh, I didn't say F, I say test file, sorry. Okay, please have to be listening. So, dong. Yes. Hey, nothing happened. Why? Because it went to the file. Okay, so you will see a directory here. Because this file, I actually save it at my download directory, I think. So you go to the download directory, you see, this is my file test. In the same directory, I wrote a file. And then let me open it with, let's say, Word to have a look. Ta-da. Hey, is there something wrong? Is something wrong? Oh, well, I wrote all the things in the file, right? But why is it wrong? Yeah, so, yeah, why is it wrong? Because when you write a file with the right command, there's no new line character. If you want to add every line is a new line, you need to put this. Okay, that's a new line character. This is a special character in Python. After the slash, you can do some special character that you cannot type in. For example, the slash T is a tab. The slash is the slash and something like that. So slash N is a new line. So when you write this, your file will become like that lah. Okay, so that is what you want. If you want a new line, okay, let's talk about the file mode. This one. So the file mode actually have a lot of mode. You can read binary, you can read plus, you can W, A, and so on. Okay, so W is open a file for writing only. You will overwrite the file if the file exists. So I let you to read all this now, okay? Because if you open it with R, actually R is the default one. That means if you don't put a file mode here, the file mode is R. Like our string slicing, whatever, you don't put any things, there will be a default one. Is you open the file for reading only, and the file pointer is placed at the beginning of the file. This is important. What is a file pointer? Okay. Today's our generation, maybe even including your parents, we call it the random access generation. What does that mean? How do you listen to music? You go to YouTube or you go to your Spotify, you go to your whatever, right? I want to listen to song number 1. I want to listen to song number 4. Then I go back to song number 1. That's called random access. I can read it anytime, any song, anywhere I like. But in our past, it's not random access. You know, in our era, there's something called cassette tape. What, anyone know what is a cassette tape? A cassette tape is a tape lah. It's a magnetic tape, but the song is being recorded on a tape. So the tape will run through, and there's a magnetic reader to read the tape. So when you read the tape, you play song number 1, the tape will roll. After you finish song number 1, there will be song number 2. But what if you want to listen to song number 1 again, or you want to listen to song number 5? You have to rewind the tape, go back and forth. But on the other hand, I want you to have this knowledge. That means at any time, let's say after I listen to a few songs, I turn off my cassette tape player. 3 days later, I come back, what happened? Will I start from song 1 again? No, I will start from where I start with. That means the pointer will stay at certain file, certain song or certain position. Maybe after you actually is in the middle of song number 3, I listen to the chorus and stop there. 5 days later, you come back, you still are there. So there's actually a pointer to record where is that, and actually that was the file model. I will explain it later when we try to read more file, okay? But remember that there's a file model in which today we don't have that device anymore, okay? We don't have that, it's hard to understand. The other thing is you can see that all this have something called binary. Because default, if you don't specify anything, is the text mode. Text mode means you put in a text. What does text mode mean? Text mode means if you want to store a string or number, every character is the 2-byte words. What's a byte? A byte is one of the number. For example, 50, 5 is 1 byte. 0 is 1 byte. 4 is 1 byte, okay? For example, you need to, 50 is 1 byte, sorry. 50 is 1 byte, 48 is 1 byte, and so on. So if you want to represent the number 20180901, you need 8 bytes because you need 1 byte for each character. But if you convert it into an integer and store in binary mode, you only need 4 characters, 4 bytes. So storing things in bytes, in binary, has a lot of advantage. Okay, one of the disadvantage of storing text is it's very easily hacked. When I was young, I hacked because it's text file. When the save game of my game is a text file, I read it. Oh, it recorded my money is only 01. So I go and change it to 999. So I have a lot of money. Okay, the text file is not good. I remember even there was one time the iPhone just rolled out. There was this racing game. I go and hack the money also. Okay, because they store in text file. But if it's stored in binary, you can actually encrypt it, or it's harder for you to search for the numbers. Okay, So, but binary is the next level. We are not going to talk about this. So in our class, we only go for text. That's for reading, okay? Writing is very simple. How about reading? Reading is a lot more difficult. But of course, when you want to talk about reading a file, you need to create a file first. So let's anyhow go to Notepad or Word document to create a file called student marks. Okay? Let's read the file. How do we read the files? Just like that. The same, right? Open a file. I don't even need to put a file mode because I can actually put comma with the string out. But I don't need to because by default it's reading. So it's F, and you can read in the whole file by f.read. F.read is the whole file will be reading. And what happened, this data will be containing one single string of the whole file. But you said, no, my file has a lot of lines. All your lines is being concatenated into one string. So you can see after John 70 will be one new line characters. And after Mary 50 have another new line characters, okay? So that is what it does. These are normal file names and the file objects, and you read the whole file as a string. So you can see the new line character in the string. Well, let's say if I want to manipulate that, what do I do? How do I extract the numbers? So I can do some string function. One of the string function is split. If you have a string, you say this string dot split. It's very convenient. It will chop the string for you. And where is the point of cutting? The point of cutting is any invisible characters. What is invisible characters? Space, new line, and what else? Maybe tab, okay? So if you have those characters, it will chop like that. So after data dot split, I will give you a list, okay? It will become a list, okay? A list of many strings. And the string is being chopped out. But you can actually put other things there. Let's talk about that later, okay? So we split by this. And now how do we get the numbers? Okay? How do we get the numbers? Anyway, we can do all this manipulation. This is how I get the numbers. I use list comprehension and string slicing. So after list slicing, after I do that, I start from the second position. Index 1. What is index 1? Index 1 is this one, right? Okay. There's index 1. And I skip 2 every time I move 2. Okay. That means after that, the next one will be this one. The next one will be this one. And this one will be next one. And this is the I. But too bad, now actually every I is a string. So I convert this I to be an integer. And finally, this all score will be a list of all the integers. Then I can use this is my scorer. Then I can actually compute this and so on. I even can plot a graph, okay? So if we have time, we'll mention about how to plot a graph in Python, which is a super simple thing to do. You can do it like Excel, okay? But the difference is you can read in your data file, do some processing, and do your titles, whatever, which is using a package called matplotlib, okay? So, but we are not talking about that. But anyway, I can plot the data like that. And well, but actually, one thing I want to mention is it's not healthy to read in the whole file in one batch. Because sometimes your file can be very large. Your file can be a few megabytes or even a few gigabytes if your data is very big. So usually we do not do that. We will read one line by one line. So this is how I read one line by one line. After I open the file, wait, I don't read. Why I don't read? I use for a line in F. Why? What's in F? I thought I can only do a for loop in a sequence. And yes, a file object is a sequence. Okay, so I can say a line in F. And that means, this is important. each time you loop in the for loop, the for line will actually read in one single line from the file. And you put in the variable align, a underscore line. Okay. And when I do this, I print the line one by one. So the file object is also an iterable. And do this. This is the result of this code. Anything strange? Why are there double spacing? Why the double spacing? Because if you do it in the REPL, the Python loop inside which you use echoing, Python will show you that actually every string, every align when you read in will include the last trailing new line. And then you go back to the last code. Then why is it double spacing? Because your print function will add a new line for you. Your original align variable here will also give you one new line. So after each of the string, you actually have a double spacing, okay? So maybe you want to get rid of this. How do we do that? How do we get rid of these trailing new lines? But before that, let's try to do an ultimate so-called final example that will be easier. Okay, let's really go to do something with our data. For example, if you really go to file, the data.gov, you download the birth rate, you'll be like that. So there will be file. And a CSV file can be opened in Excel with columns and row, right? It's actually very simple. The CSV file is a text file. Every new line is a row. Okay, row. But every column is separated by the comma. Okay, so that is how it does for the CSV file. And let's try, okay, just try for experimental things. After I open that CSV file, I can read in the lines. Every time I do f.read lines, you will actually read in one of the line in from the file. Okay, but this is where I want to say about the file pointer. There is a hidden state in the object file. After the first f.read line, it read in the first line, right? Year, level 1, blah, blah, blah. After that, it's like anyone read a real book before? You read a real book, right? You read line by line, right? After reading 4 lines, what happened? You actually have to remember which line you read to. Let's say after reading 4 lines, I go and get a coffee and come back. You know that which is the position of the book you're reading to. You have to remember that. And this is what happened here. After the first f.read lines, you have an implicit file pointer telling you the next line you're going to read should be the second line, and so on. So after each f.read lines, you read a line and move the file pointer. That's what we want to talk about. Okay. And if you just print this line, you have all this double spacing as what we had just now. So we want to get rid of it. How? So very simple. I use this string function called write strip. Write strip means I'm going to get rid of the character in my argument of write strip. For example, this time I'm going to get rid of the new line character like this. So it's the demonstrate of write strip. Okay, so 5. Any Thailand people here? No. Okay. So you don't understand why is it? Why is it 5? Yes. Ha. That's what Thailand people say LOL. Okay. Because I think for us we do LOL, right? Laugh out loud. But for Thai people it's 5. Why? Because I think Thai is 1 is nam, song, sip. I forgot what it's for. But 5 is ha la. Okay. So that's how they do ha. Okay. But anyway, let's get rid of that. I can do a right strip. Right strip also take care of it. Right strip will remove multiple occurrence on the right. Okay, it won't only remove one. It removes as many as possible on the right. And of course, you can do left strip here. This left strip is get rid of the left one. So the right strip here will get rid of the right. Left strip here will get rid of the left. And of course, you can do a left strip, then right strip, okay? And also, the other function we talk about is the split. If you just do split, you split the string by the invisible character. So if I want to split this string, I'll be 555. Hello, everybody. But actually, you can put in an argument for the split. That means instead of splitting by the invisible character, I want to split by whatever I want. So if I want to split by O, then my string will become like that. Okay. So now we are ready to process our file. So I open the file and make a for loop. So the file object is an iterable. Each of the for loop has a hidden read line there. So the line is being read like that. So when you do this, it will print out like that. Every line is one string like this. And let's try to process it, okay? So if I split all the line, what will happen? After I split, ta-da! Is that what you want? Is it what you want? Is it the right thing to split? No, right? It doesn't make sense. What should you split with? You should split with the comma, right? So instead of this, because if you don't put anything, you split by this. So let's split by the commas. And now it's better, right? Okay. And what's the next step? The next step is we need to choose the data we want. Let's study the data. What is the data we want? This is the number of births per year. And it's scary. Why there's 37.5? That means there's one baby at this year in 1960, he's being born. And before midnight, he's like coming out half. And after midnight, he come out the other half. No, okay. Sorry, this is actually per thousand. That means it's actually 37,500 babies, okay? So please do not be misled by that. You need to multiply the 1,000. And we don't want this line, right? We have to get rid of that because it's not the data. And what else we don't want? We also don't want this. This type of thing is actually called data cleaning. Any heard of that? Data cleaning. For data analytics, you need to do some data cleaning, but this is a super simple one. How do we do that? We just want these two rows, but these two rows, you also notice that they're strings, so I have to convert it into numbers. Okay, let's start. This is the whole code. First of all, this is the mysterious code that everybody asks, what is it? This one. Why I do this? I read in one line from the file. And what will happen? That means the first line of the file, the year one will be read, right? And then I move the pointer to the next line. Then when I do the for loop, it will start with the next line. Okay? That's how I discard. I can read in and print in or whatever, but I just read in and don't do anything. That's how I discard the first line. And in order to put my data, I create some two lists, okay? One list is year, one list is the birth rate. So after I get the line, I strip it and split it with my commas. The first entry, which is the list form, the first number is the year. So I append this to the year. And then after that, the birth is the last number, which is the index 2 multiply 1,000, okay? So that is how I get this number. This is the first year, and this is the birth. After that, I will have two lists. One is the list of the year, one is the list of number, and I can plot this. So when I plot this, which I'm plotting, the simple thing is here. I plot the years against the birth rate. And ta-da, that's the graph. Okay. And now you know why Singapore need to do baby bonus. Why? Because our birth rates dropped tremendously. And that's why these are real things. We have to close down some primary school and we have to close down some secondary school, okay? So this responsibility falls on your shoulder. Okay, so you know what to do, 加油. Okay, yeah. Otherwise, Singapore will vanish. Okay, so but that's how we actually read in the files. But having said that, next week you'll learn that, oh, actually read in the whole CSV file, you only need one line of code. But then, on the other hand, if you try to start doing this week assignment, you know that not all the text file are CSV. So you need to read in the file, this assignment is not according to CSV, but read in the whole string. Okay. So that's for the first part. I will give a 5 minutes break because I need your brain to relax a bit. The second thing is very, very difficult. Okay, so how do I manipulate it? And yeah, let's have a 5 minutes. Okay, this is an interesting question. If grade larger than B plus, return do not SU, otherwise SU. I do understand a lot of you do not need this course to continue other course, okay? Some people just say, oh, I just finish this course and continue on my whatever engineering degree and go on with my life, okay? I just want you to know that what happened is, I think I talked to you before. Yeah, grade is one thing, but a lot of your seniors, after they finish their degree, go out to work, they come back to study master. They need that because somehow CS pay better nowadays. I'm not boasting myself, but this is the statistic. And then they need a master, they come back to this course, okay? And at that time, master of MCOM track, they need to go through a course similar to our course that needs you to pay $3,000, not for the program, for one course. Okay, so not while you are studying here, I don't think it's $3,000 for you. Am I right? If you even out your school fee, it's not $3,000. But if you go to work, you think that you need this course back and you need to study it back. When you come back, it's $3,000. Okay. Of course, you can still SU, but I will highly encourage you to study this course well, because you need this course again. You need $3,000. Okay. So it's not about the grades only. It's about what you know in the future. Okay, I hope you really, because I like to teach this course also because it's really useful. When you go out to work, you will know that this course is really extremely useful. Probably one of the most useful things of all of your, because it's a basic one, okay? Lambda include in midterms, I think I don't need to repeat it. Everything before the recess week, so yes, okay? What to include in cheat sheet? If I tell you just get a blank paper, will you just get a blank paper? Yeah. This actually why the cheat sheet, I think I also tell you before. The purpose for cheat sheet is for you to distill and filter out what you need to bring in the exam. I will say, actually, you don't need to bring in any cheat sheet to the exam. Our exam is highly depending on understanding. It's like your math. If you talk about math in primary school, I don't think they have a cheat sheet, because why? Do you need to remember anything in math in your primary school or even secondary school? Maybe some formulas after secondary school, but we don't, okay? So most of our material in this course is based on understanding. I don't think you actually need a cheat sheet, but it's just for, so that's why you need to design your own cheat sheet, okay? And can we comment out the skeleton code and write our own? You can do anything, but just don't get the grade. Okay, of course cannot. You have to follow the program structure, follow the skeleton, and fit in the code. Sorry about that. Yeah. Define if S2, I think is the last. Is file IO tested? No. Okay. File IO is not tested. As I said, it's everything before the recess week. Okay, and that's it for now. And you'll be happy because if after recess week you don't test today's thing. Okay, so today's thing is actually quite terrible. Hey, where's my video? Yeah. Okay, let's watch this video. What are they doing? Okay, let's speed up a bit. Now you know what they're doing, right? Okay, they're making soda. Okay, why do I show this video? Think about that. The soda, the soda, whatever it is Coke or Sprite or whatever, it goes through the production line. But every time it goes through one single machine, it do one purpose. For example, when you go through here, you have one single machine of sterilizing, making it clean. You go here, you have one single machine to put the plastic paper, the logos on the bottle. Going here, you have one machine to put in the drinks inside the bottle and so on. So you have two perspectives. One is, oh, all the bottles is being filled, but actually all the bottles will go through the machine one by one. Today's purpose is, I want you to do something like the machine. You design a machine that's going to apply to all the elements in your production line. And what is our production line? It's our list. So we want to put in an operation to all the things in our list. So that's what is today's purpose. Combining sequences and our high order functions. But don't worry, the high order function, we don't need to use so much lambda, we use a bit. Make it simple first. If I have a list, how do I produce another list that every number is double? How do we do that? Well, there's a lot of method. If you remember, we talked about iteration and recursion. I can do this. This is the iteration version, right? I input a sequence, which is the list. And then what happened is I need to multiply every element with n, right? So I create a new output list. And for every number in the input sequence, I multiply by n and put in my new list, okay? By now, you should understand this, okay? If you don't understand this, you may be in trouble. Okay, you should be able to understand this code. And this is the iterative version. I can also do a recursion version. The recursion version is, if your list is empty, of course, you don't need to multiply. I give you an empty list. So that means if not sequence, that means if the list is empty, I give you the list. Otherwise, I get the first element out, multiply by n, make it a list, and join the rest. What's the rest? The rest is apply this scaling function to the rest of the list. The rest of the list is the list slicing from the second position, which is index 1, to the rest. Okay? By now, you should be able to understand this. Otherwise, your midterm is quite risky. Okay, how do I have another operation? I have a bunch of numbers in a list. Now I want to square it. How do I do that? You can just do this, right? It's very similar to my last code, except that when I put in the list, instead of multiplying n, I do I times I because I want to square it. So look at this scaling code and the square code. They only differ by these things, right? Is it okay? So by here, I want to tell you one thing is like this. What if I want to do other things? Like I want to have a sequence, but I want to make a cube of it, or I want to apply absolute value of it. That means if anything is negative, I become positive. What if I want to do this? Do I need to write a function for everyone? The answer is no. Let's use the power of computational thinking called capturing the same pattern. Because in computer science, anything similar or redundant is a crime. You don't want to put things which is similar or redundant in your code. It's not only a style problem. It's not about your stylish, elegant, or what. It's actually increasing the chances for getting errors or changing and so on, which is bad. So rather than having two functions, I want to unify them. I want to, anyone remember Lords of the Ring? One rings to rule them all, okay? I only want one function to do everything. How do I do this? I write a function called map, okay? What does this do? This function basically goes through every element in your list, but I will take one more argument, which is here. F. I will input a function f, and the function will be applied to the element inside it. So it can give you the flexibility of the f can be square, the f can be multiplied, okay? So for example, here, I map the square function into my list, then I can square the function. If I write a function to scale doubles, I can scale the list. Or I can directly don't use a name. I can do this. This is a square, right? This is a square lambda. As last lecture we talked about that, I actually only have the functionality. I don't care about name. So I map the functionality, squaring the numbers into each number of the list. And I can do this also. Then I can map this, and I can do other things. I can do this. What is this? I can map a function to negate every numbers. Negative become positive, positive become negative. So one function do it all. Is okay? So if you remember just now the making of the soda is that thing. So the operation is whatever you want. Maybe it's putting into code, maybe it's cleaning it. So one function to apply to all this. If you use other package like NumPy, they actually have this function called broadcasting. So it's actually something similar. However, I want you to do one crazy thing, okay? I want you to forget what it was. Because actually, Python has its built-in function called map. I want you to learn about that. The real built-in map have a similar function, but more powerful and more general. Okay, so I want you to forget just now. But just now, I demonstrate an evil operation of Python. The Python itself has a map, but what I can do, I can redefine it. It's called function overriding. I can override my own function. So you can actually define the same function a few times yourself. What Python will do is whenever you define the function again, you just forget what is the old function. So just now, what I did is I redefined the map function. So when I use the map, we'll use mine. But what I want you to do now is forget about that, because I'm going to introduce the real map function from Python. Because if you go back to my function, you know my function map only can work on list and output list. And you know that Python don't only have lists. You have tuples, you have dictionary, whatever. Actually, you can use the map on other sequences in Python. So the Python map function can be more general. So let's do this. But the difference is when you apply the map function in Python built-in function, you will get a map object. Just now I said, right? You don't only need to apply on list, you can apply in tuple. So now what I did is I used the built-in map. So be careful. This map is not my map, not my own defined map again. This is the built-in Python map function. And I map the absolute function. What is absolute function? Absolute function is if your number is positive, it won't change. But if your number is negative, it turns it into positive, okay? But after that, you will see something. The result of this map function is not a tuple, not a list. It's something called the map object. Why? Because it gives you the freedom, you can change it to anything you want. I can change it to list, I can change it to tuple. So this is the map object. I can change it to any object like this. For example, for the map function, for the map object, I change it to tuple. So you can see my tuple will be 1, 2, 3 because I apply the absolute value into it. But wait a minute, the align, how come I cannot change it to the list object? I thought I just said in 10 seconds before, I think I can change it to anything I want. Why can't I change it to the list object? Let's investigate, okay? What if I do this? What if I repeat the whole process, but I first change it to a list? Can. But now I cannot change it to a tuple. Why? I want you to learn one thing implicitly. The map object, you can deem it as something like consumable. Does it make sense? That means after you use it, you cannot use it again. Okay? Remember the Mission Impossible by Tom Cruise? So the map object is actually consumable. After you took out the data is gone. Why I mentioned Mission Impossible is I remember there's one episode that Tom Cruise is reading the mission by a sunglass or something like that. After that, you have to throw away because why? After he read the mission, the sunglass will explode. So it just destroy the data after he consume it, okay? So it's like a map object. After you get it once, you cannot reuse it. So that is what happened, okay? The conclusion is you can convert a map to any object you want, but only once. The other one you may want to learn is very similar. It's called filter. For the Python map function, you are going to produce a new sequence by applying a function into every object, right? Filter is you applied a predicate function instead. What is a predicate function? What is the difference between a general function and a predicate function? Function is like a question. I can ask you anything as an input and output anything. Okay, for example, if I ask you how much money is there in your wallet now, you can answer me any numbers. It can be 100, 200, whatever. But what if I ask, that is a general function, general question. But what is a predicate? Do you have enough money to treat me a dinner? Yes, good. Yeah, okay. So there's a yes, no function. So a predicate function is a function only tell you true or false. Okay, there's a predicate function. Why is a predicate function? Because I will return an iterable such that I won't change the object in the list or tuples, but I will eliminate those who return false. For example, here, this is my complicated list. I add a filter. My filter is I will check if the item is an integer. So only those item is the integer. That means this lambda function return true. I will keep it. So in case the whole list, I have 1, 2, 3, I have A, whatever. I only keep 1, 2, 3. Why I don't keep 1, 2? The tuple 1, 2. Because the tuple 1, 2 is not integers. They are a tuple of integers. Okay. So you will only keep. Oh, sorry, I didn't show it. So you only keep those who is saying yes to your function. Okay, so another example. For example, this one I want to check if any of those items are strings. So I only keep the strings. And this one, I only keep those function that is positive or negative, this one. So you see, my function is saying that if the number is less than 0, so I only keep the negative number. So the filter function is similar to map, but except that it filters out what is not needed. So that's why it's called filter. Okay, so there's two functions we introduced. And one of the things we want to learn further is, this era, we have all this deep learning whatsoever, right? Deep fake. What is deep? Let's talk about deep. How do I count a sequence in a deep mode? What does deep mode means? How many items in this sequence? 8, right? Okay, that's easy. There are 8 numbers. I can just use length. But if I ask you one day in our PE or midterm, how do we implement it yourself without using length? You may need to write a function, okay? How do you do that? Challenge yourself. Some of the function, try to write it yourself without using the built-in function. It's not for real use, but it's a good practice to make sure your for loop, your whatever works. So what does it do? This use a recursion. If your sequence is not a sequence that means empty, I return 0. Otherwise, I use a recursion because the first item is counted 1, and I further count the rest of the item, okay? So it's a normal recursion one. But this is a shallow count. What does it mean? How many items in this list? 4. Because you have integer 1, integer 2, integer 3, and a list of 4, 5, 6, 7. There are only 4 items. What if you want to count deeply? Like this. If I want to deep count, I want to say it's 7. And what if your list is like this? It's a list of lists of lists of lists. And what I want you to do is go inside the list and count every item inside the list. Okay, how do you do that? So let's try to figure out the logic. First of all, how do we do the first shallow count? The first shallow count is the total counting. I use a recursion. The first item plus the rest. There's a logic, right? But the first item I always count it once, no matter what. How about the deep count? What's the difference between the deep count and shallow count? For the deep count logic is, I can do the same thing. I count the first object and the rest. But the only problem is the first item can be a single object. So this one is correct. I will count the first item 1 as 1 item. But it's not always the case. How to count this? How do I count the first item? And that's why we use recursion, okay? So first of all, let's try to finish it. The 2 questions is, first, how do I tell the first item is a list or not list? The second question is, okay, now if it's not a single item, how do I count it? How do I tell? Well, very simple. I just need to check the type, right? I just need to check the type is a tuple or list or whatsoever. I just need to check the type. Okay, so it's very simple. For example, I just need to check whether the first one is a list. So this one is not a list. This one is a list, okay? The second question is, okay, if the first item is not a list or not a tuple, very easy. I will count it as once, okay, with 1 item. But what if the first item is not our single integer? Then what we do is we just use our power of being irresponsible. I don't care. I just throw in the recursion. Okay? And because of this irresponsibility, you can actually handle something like this. I don't care. As far as at least I go further and further into the first item. So the code is like this. Give you 1 minute to digest the code. If I want to count at least, the first base case is what? If it's empty list, it's nothing, right? So it's 0. Second is, if I actually come in an item is not a list, then it's 1, right? But what if it's not all this case? If ever is a list, what I will do is, the last line, the most bottom line is, I count the first item. Make very big notice of it. I count the first item. What does that mean? It's not the first part of the list. I strip off one layer of the list because I get the item inside. And then I count the rest of the item. That code will work. Let's run it. Let's have a simple case first. How does this code count this very simple list of 1? Okay, so which option will it fall? Will it fall in option 1, option 2, or option 3? Which one will it go? Who will say 1? Who will say 2? Who will say 3? Is this a list or not? This is a list. That's why it won't go to 2. It will go to 3. If we go to 3, what happened? Note that, go to 3, it becomes like this. I will deep count the first item. The first item 1. And then I deep count an empty list. Now, the first part will go to 2. The second part will go to 3. Sorry, the second part will return 0. And that's why it returns 1 plus 0. Okay, so it's a simple case. How about if we have a longer list like this? Then you go to like this. I'll get the first item out, and then I get to the rest of the list, and this is kind of 1. And the further one, I will go to 2 and list of 3. And this guy is 1. And the last one, 3 and empty list. And this is kind of 1, and the empty list is 0. So it's 1 plus 1 plus 1, okay? These are all easy case. How about this? Wow, very complicated list. Okay, if you notice that the list, you follow the list structure, the square one, I will do this, okay? X is a list of 1 list at the before, and then 9, and then a list. The left list is blah, 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 blah. So the left list is actually the red one, right? And then the rest of the list is the blue one. So what I will do is, for the first calling, I will get out the first item, which is the red list. And now continue counting the right, which is the blue list. Let's do it one by one. Let's do the red one first. The red one, again, I will take out the first item, which become like that. And then I will take out the first item of the red list, become like that. And this count as 1 and 3 and so on. So this is 1, 2, 3, right? So that's why this list is kind of 3. And how about the blue ones? So this kind of 3. The blue ones is like that. So what is the next step? The next step is deep count the single number of 9 and what? Tell me. What is the second term? Is it deep count a list of 1, 2, or a list of 1, 2? Yes? Which one? Is it a list of 1, 2 or a list of 1, 2? This will be Is it okay? Because it's the slicing. And of course, the first one will count as 1 here. And then this will take out the first item. The first item is the list of 1, 2. And then the rest is the empty list. And further on, the list of 1, 2 count as usual, like that. And finally, I have 1, 2, 3. That's 3 numbers. Okay? That's how this recursion go into the deep list and count it. Okay, and that's why the first term is 3, the second term is 3, and count as 6. Okay, so this is a code. Actually, I don't want to count. I don't want to teach you how to do deep count. I want to teach you how to do deep, because the next thing is, can we do deep square? I have this list, but what I want you to do is apply the deep square into it. Every number becomes deep square. And how about deep increment? I want every number increment by 1. And so on. Why do I want to do this? So, how do I do deep square? This is a deep square. This is the same one, empty list. Deep square will be different, because if I get something is not a list, I need to square it. And the rest will be the same, but not really the same, because I don't count it now. After I get the first item, I need to make it back into a list. But I need to apply this deep square into the first item. Okay? So deep square 2, what happened? It will become this. I will get the first item, deep square it, but put it back into a list. And become like this, and that's why it's a list of 4. How about deep increment? Deep increment is like that lah. The only difference is this, right? Okay? And do you know what I want to do? Yes? This is so similar, right? Can I do something that combine and unify them together? I do Deepmap. I just need to use this Deepmap function. Instead of I write a function for deep square, I write a function for deep increment. I just write a function Deepmap. What this Deepmap do is I will apply this function to a list of lists. I will go into every single element to do that. For example, pre-Deepmap, I Deepmap the square into the list. I also can Deepmap the string. That means I change every integer into a string. I also can Deepmap this is half, every number by half. Okay? It's deep mapping. However, until now, one more thing. Remember, we cannot do shallow copy in your tutorial. If you have a list like that, if I copy the list 2 to be list 1, even I do copying, if I say I change the list 1, I will change the list 2. Okay? But no need to fear anymore, because today we'll teach you how to do deep copy. Deep copy is you won't create this alias problem. This is deep copy. Deep copy is I just need to apply a deep map, but the map is identical. Why? Because the deep map will reproduce another list for you, 1 by 1 constructing, and they will new clone. And this deep copy. You can see that if I now change one of the lists, after deep copy, I change 1, 2 won't change, and it works. Okay? So deep copy. But anyway, after all this crazy thing, why do we need to go there? A lot of things. For example, any chances you wonder how do you copy a folder? You do, right? You know that your directory is a folder. Folder, and some folder have some files. Think about it. Each folder is like a list. Inside you have elements, which is your file. But the problem is you may have a folder inside a folder. When you want to copy something, let's say I want to copy this directory. to another directory, you need to do a copy search. You need to figure out all the items inside this folder. They can be a folder or folder or folder. They can be items. Then you need to use the logic of the deep function to copy all the folders into the other directory. And the other one is my favorite, computer graphics. Okay? Any articulated body in your game, no matter it's Pokemon or is it a soldier or it's a fighting game, every character is modeled in a hierarchical structure. That means it's the body. The body, the next level is our limbs and our joints and so on. What does that mean? When you do animation, let's do a very simple animation. I model a human like me. I want to do this swinging. What will the computer do? The computer is actually applying a rotation on my shoulder joint to rotate the whole limb. But the rotation need to apply to my upper limb, to anything that's lower structure. So your whole thing is actually a tree-like structure like the list. So my whole body is a list of all my limbs, and my limbs is a list of my this one, and then the list of 5 fingers. And my fingers can move by anything they want. So it's actually another hierarchical structure. So what you do is when you apply a rotation here, you need to apply the rotation to every of the substructure. So this is one of the deep moderation. And this is also a deep one with research for the path. This one is cool. This one is one of the PE, long time ago. The PE is asking you to change the girl's color from green to purple. Yes, that is the PE. Is it difficult? What is a picture? A picture, next lecture will teach you, actually the picture is a 2-dimensional array of pixels. What is 2-dimensional array? 2-dimensional array is actually a list of lists. And each pixel is another list. So a picture is basically a list of lists of lists. If you can do this deep map, all I need to do is I need to write a function. The function will go into your colors. If your colors is green, you can write some code for that. I'll give you the number for that. What is the color green? The color is RGB. If the green component, the G numbers is bigger than the R and B, then it's green colors. Then you change it. That means you can actually finish this PE by 1 line of code. And if you use Deepmap, you just use this deep function to every pixels. Apply a Deepmap function to every pixels to change the color. Because your lambda function can also say, if this return this, or if that return that, then you can actually. So that means this PE can be finished by 1 line of code. Very simple 1 line of code. If you use Deepmap and so on, okay? Okay lah, not everyone want to be deep. Okay, like sometimes you want to shadow. What do? For example, if you have a deep list like that, I want to make it flat. What is the reason? For example, if you have the file directory just now, instead of going into any directory, you want a single list of file in all the directory. Then you want to flatten it, okay? So to flatten it, how do? We do this. Similar pattern. So what I do is, I will go into every single first element. And then I will strip off their list one by one. When go to the last line, which is the option 2, the second one, if type of the sequence is not a list, okay lah, I stripped you enough. I add back 1 layer to you. So that means every element only have 1 layer of list. And then return it out. So that is flattening, okay? So I hope it's not too difficult for you. So this is the most ultimate things. I strip off all your list layer. When you have no list layer, no blanket, I give you one back. Okay. So if you flatten this, what happens? It become like this. You strip off one layer of the list, strip off another layer of list until you become this. And then you go to option 2, the green ones, add back one layer for you lah. Okay. Then actually that is the flattened operations. Okay. So, but on the other hand, this will be very essential if you. So today's topic, why we have this today's topic is a lot of time we do not handle linear data. What's linear data? Linear data is like you have a bunch of data, which is your score. It's linear data. But what is not linear data? Your family tree is not a linear data. The Singapore map is not a linear data. How do you find the route from NUS to Orchard? It's not linear because the map is the interchange graph. We call it graph, not the plotting graph. In computer science, a graph, a map, a graph is the interconnected web like that is a graph. How do we handle this? If you know today's deep map, you can do this searching or flooding in a very easy manner for all this, okay? So this is a very basic searching mentality. I hope you do that. And on conclusion, map is a powerful function. Please get rid of that. And it can do anything like n-dimensional array or graph or trees. And one more thing before we leave is, I think some of you have this problem in Catis. Some of the time, some of the Catis question need you to read in input like that. Let's go further. More difficult question. Let's go page 7. Let's pick any question. Okay. No. For example, this one, but this one is still, yeah, like this. So how do you read in a sequence of character in Catis? Okay, you can do all the string operation, but let me teach you that. For example, how do you read in this and change it to one thing useful? Because let's say if I read in this, if I do Python, right? Let's say if usually is the string is equal to input, right? If you just run this, let's say your input is this one, right? This is the input from the Catis. This is the output, right? Because it's actually Python will read it as a string input. How do I change it to a list that I need? So here is the trick. First of all, I can do split, right? So let's see what happened. So if I input, this is a string. Okay. But it's not what I want. I can, because after you do this, it's all string. How do I convert them into numbers? I use map. Map what? Integer function. And of course, after that is a map object. Let me change it to a list or tuple. And now, this is the input. Ta-da. Okay, so this is the line or code I use a lot myself. Okay, of course, you can do other things like the other format you can do is you can do list comprehension. You can do this also can. X for X in this. So this one also work. Okay. So like this. It also work. Okay. So it's two functions. Just now the function or this function will change your input like that or whatever Catis question into a list of integer. So you see like this, right? Or yeah, what do I do? Or like this, then change it into integers. Okay, so that's how we do. Okay, so before we leave, any more questions? Oh, no more questions, but you can ask me. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you, and please remember. Oh, one more last thing. This coming Friday, usually we have the consultation by Prof. Ku, right? I think I will take care of it. So if you have any question for your midterm, it's a good chance. I will post out a poll everywhere, poll for you to ask question. Okay, we'll have you later. So please come for but that session is online. Okay, so we won't do it face to face, but please do some questioning before you go to your midterm. So good luck on your midterm. And please ask question also in your tutorial.